Hey everybody, welcome to Neurodivergent Gaming. I'm your host, Tailgate Coolie Cat Meow, and you know what we got going on over here? High scores and low dopamine. Let's go! Hey guys, today we're going to talk about one of my favorite games called Nonogram. It's also called Pictocross and Gridlers. The app that I use for the iPad is Nonogram. And the first thing that we're going to look at here is we have our daily goals, any level, regular levels, and using a hint. And every day these daily goals will change, and if you get them all complete, then you get this present here, and that present is a secret hidden level that you can do. If we click new game, then it'll ask us what level of game that we want to play. But I usually don't do those unless I don't have an event to complete, because I like to complete things. So the first thing we'll see is we have a daily challenge, and we can click on it and play the daily challenge, and every day it gives us a new one. If we complete the whole month, then we get a little trophy for it. And there we go. I have a trophy for June, April, and May. I haven't finished July and August. We can always go back to previous months if we don't have them completed, and we can go back and get them. That's how I got all the trophies for previous years, is you can just go back and do those whenever you feel like it. You don't have to do it on the day. They don't go away. And they usually have an event or two going on. Right now we have this tea party event, and what that is as we solve the nonograms down here across the bottom, then I'm guessing this gets all cleaned up and prettified, and they make the tea, set a table and everything, so you're all set for the tea party. I don't really like those as much as I like the ones with the postcards, which I'm pretty sure is what we have here with the desert world. And we finished this first postcard already, so there's 36 puzzles that we have to solve to clear this picture off, and to clear this picture off we have to solve these 81 puzzles, and then this one will have even more than that, and there's just 3 postcards for each event here that they do like this. And then we'll see this tea party event, you have 2 days left, and the desert world, you have 2 days left. The last thing we have over here is the tournament, and as we play we get gold stars. I'll show you where those are on the board, and in 3 days they're gonna say, okay, who's in the top spots, and we'll get little rewards for that. I want to take you through the tutorial before we get started. We're going to click that gear and say how to play. That way I'm making sure that I cover everything before we jump in and get started. The rules of the game here, what you'll see is you'll see a number at the side of a row or the top of a column, and it tells you that however many numbers there are there is how many groups of filled in squares we have, and then the numbers themselves tell you how big that group of squares is. So for this row here, where we have a 5 wide square, we have one group of 5. So one group of 5 fills in this whole square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's how we would do that. This next row, it has 4. But we already know where it starts. The group of 4 can't start any further to the left, and so because we have this edge filled out here, we know that it has to go this way where it's highlighted. So highlight. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and that fills out that row. And so then this is an example of what I was saying, where we have 2 numbers, and that lets you know that there's going to be 2 separate groups of filled in squares, and this is going to be 2 groups of 2. And anytime that you have 2 numbers, there has to be at least 1 space between it. We'll see in the game that it's not always 1 space. It could be at least 1 space, but it could be many spaces. And so the only way that this can fit in here and leaving that space is by filling in 2, and then this would be a space, and it won't let me click to the X, but you can click to the X and put an X there. That way you know don't put anything there. and then you click back to your square and fill in the other 2. So you see how we have 2, at least one space, and then another 2. And this is just telling you that they go in like the correct order that they're listed. So because this 1 is on the left, that group of 1 is going to come on the left, versus that group of 3 that's going to be further to the right. So we say a group of 1, at least one space, and then a group of 3. Now we're looking at columns, and this row here, it has a 1 in it, but there's no way to know where that 1 goes. We don't have enough information to solve that yet. So we're going to switch over here to our X, and then we're going to look at these columns. This column has a group of 4 in it, and we've already got our 4, so nothing else can go in that column. And it's the same thing with the next column. It's a group of 3. We already have our 3, and nothing can go in the rest of that column. Then here we have a group of 2 and then another group of 2. So there's our group of 2, and then we need at least one space, and then we can see that this is where our second group of 2 starts, so we know that this one is going to be filled in. For the tutorial, they want us to fill in the rest of the X's first before we come back and fill that in, so we won't fill it in now. We'll look at this column. We have a group of 4, and that's all that's in this column, and we already have our 4, so nothing else can go in this column. And then in this column we have a group of 1 and then a group of 2. So there's our group of 1, nothing can go there because we need at least one space. And then there's our group of 2, nothing comes below that group of 2, that's all that's in that column, so we can mark that out. Now we can switch over to our colored in box, and we can look at the row and say, okay, we need a group of 1. Well, there's only one square available, we know it goes there. Or we can look at the column like we did initially and say we have a group of 2 and a group of 2. There's a group of 2, there's one space. The next group starts here, and we know it's 2, 1, 2. So we can look at the column or the row to solve that. And then here we have an apple tree. So in the app, the images don't always look like the thing that they're supposed to look like, but there's a website, and I'll have to double check, but I think it's called nonograms.com, and you can fill in nonograms that look like pixelated images, like very, 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 very good. And they have really huge ones that are big puzzles and smaller ones that are little puzzles. Obviously, the bigger the puzzle is, the more detailed you can get with the image, because it will always be pixelated, obviously, because we're filling in squares. So I'm going to click main now, and time's up for our water sort event. We knew that was going to end pretty soon, but it looks like they've replaced it. They've replaced it with this dice event. So every time we play a puzzle, we'll get dice that we can roll, and our goal is to make it across the finish line before anyone else. If we have these teleport places, then it'll take us back down. If we have these rope places, it'll let us do a shortcut and take us up. And there's 200 maybe? Yeah, there's 200 spaces, and then whoever gets to the first place first wins. And this is a 3-day long event. Alright, so let's go to our desert world here. And let's play this first puzzle. Now you see how there are boulder lines for parts of this. The bold lines mark off a 5x5 grid. That way we can look at this pretty quickly and say, okay, this is a 10x10. And the first thing that we want to do when we get a new puzzle is to look for big numbers. This is a 10x10 grid, and I see a 10 right here. So if I know that this row has a group of 10 in it and there's only 10 spaces, then it's kind of like the 5 in that tutorial. I know that they all have to be filled in. And not every puzzle will give us some X's already on the board, but some of them do. They make the puzzles at the beginning of the event kind of easier, and then as you progress on into the event, they get a little bit harder. So there'll be plenty of puzzles without the X's in there. Let's look at this row right above it. And there has to be a group of 9 in this row. We know there are 10 squares altogether, and one of them we can't use. So there's only 9 squares available. We know that has to be filled in. Then we'll look at this column here. The first number that we have is a 2, and the next number that we have is a 1. We can see in this column we've already got a group of 2, and we know that that group of 1 has to come somewhere after that group of 2, and there's only one space available after that group of 2, so it has to go there. We'll look at the next column. We have a group of 6. We only have 2 spaces right here available, 2 boxes available, and we can't fit 6 into that 2, so we know that it can't go either of those places. And you see when we just clicked on that star, our star went over here, and whenever we click on one of those stars and we get it right, whether it's filled in or it's an X, we get those stars there, and that's what advances us in the tournament. And then back to this column here. So we have a group of 6, and now that we've marked those 2 out, there are only 6 blocks left. So all 6 need to be filled in. I'm going to jump to the rows now because we sort of have an edge done. We have these first 2 columns done so we can see where a lot of these numbers start. For this row we have a group of 8, and it can't go any further left, so we know it has to go right. We'll count out 8 spaces, and there's our group of 8. For the row below that, we have a group of 1 and then a group of 3. Well, there's our 1. We have to put a space after it because it can't be any bigger than a 1. That first group is definitely a 1. Then we'll skip down here. The first number that we have is a 3, and we can see where it starts. We can't scoot this over to the left any, so we have to take it right. And we have 1, 2, 3. And then the other number in this row is a 1, and there's only one other space available, so we can go ahead and fill that in as well. And on the bottom here, we know where that first number starts. It can't go any further left because it'd be off the board, so it has to go right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we need to mark this space after it because we can't put another one after it. It would make it more than 4, and it has to be a group of 4. And then the next number in here is a group of 2, and this is how we work to solve the puzzle, is that we can look and see if there's be any place that they would overlap. So if we count from this side as far to the left as it could start, we would go 1, 2. And if we count from this side, which is as far to the right as it could start, and count back towards the left, it would be 1, 2. And in both of those instances, this part right here in the middle is filled in. That's where they would overlap. Which means, if you think about this logically, that a group of 2, no matter where it is remaining on this row, it's going to have this spot filled in. It has to, because that's where the overlap is. So that's how we can narrow down where things go. We have the same situation here. We have this group of 1, which we already have, and then the other thing that we need in this row is a group of 3. And there's going to be overlap here. If we start counting from here, it would be 1, 2, 3. And if we start counting from here, it would be 1, 2, 3. So those 2 in the middle overlap. No matter where that group of 3 is on this row, it's going to include those 2 squares. Let's look at this column, and what I want to do is start from the bottom. Since we have this bottom filled in, we always want to look for edges that we have filled in, so they tell us where numbers start. And so we want to look at the bottom here, and going up from the bottom we have a 4, 1, 1. So we know it has to start here, and that's perfect. It's 4. Then we have a space and a 1, and then we need at least 1 space after it. We can't fill that in or it would be 2. And then we need another 1, and there's only 1 space left for that to be. Be sure that you remember to switch back and forth down here between your X and your square. I usually forget that. And if you forget it, then it counts it as a mistake because it should be filled in, or it should be an X, and you've clicked the wrong thing for it, so it'll take away 1 of your hearts. And once you get 3 hearts, it's game over. You can continue to play after you make 3 mistakes, but you have to watch an ad to get back a heart. Now we look at this row, and we have to have a group of 5. We know where it starts, so we can just count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we've got that row solved. The row right above it, it's a 3. we know that this has to go right here because it won't fit right here. So this is where our group of 3 goes. And then since we have that edge, we can fill out some more information. The top number is a 2 for this column, and we've got 1, 2, so we can put an X here. And then the next column, the top number is an 8. We know it starts here, so we can just count down to 8, and that takes us there. And then the next one is a 2, and we've got that 2 with the space. So I've got that sorted. Now let's look at this column, and as far as what columns I'm doing in what order, I'm just looking to see what I see, where I think I can solve it. So there's no particular like go down all the rows or go across all the columns. It's just whatever I'm seeing, whatever's jumping out at me. And what I see here is that we need to have a 2 and a 2. And I see that we already have 1, 2, and then we know where the other 2 starts. So we have to put it there. That's where the other 2 fits. And then doing that solves this bottom row for us because we have a 4 and then a 2, and we can't go over here for the 2. It has to come to the left. And then I'm seeing here a 2 and a 7, and we know that 7 starts at the bottom, and so we can just count up 7. And for things like the 2 and the 7, we know that 7 and plus 2 is 9, and then if it has to have at least 1 space, we add 1 more to that, and then that is 10. And since this is a 10 by 10 grid, it can only fit on here 1 way. That's the same way that we knew exactly how to fill out this row because it equaled 10. And so if you can find a 7 and a 2, or an 8 and a 1, or a 4 and a 5, that you know will add up to 10 if you add 1 more to it for that space that has to go in between them, then we can see very quickly how that row has to go because there's no other way it can fit. That's like in the tutorial when it was the 1 and then the 3, or the 2 and then the 2. Those add up to the length of the row if you add 1 more for the space. So all we have left is this row here and this column, whichever one you want to look at. And we have a group of 3 and then a group of 1. We can see where that first number starts. This has to be our group of 3 because the 3 comes first. And we will count it out to 3. And that is a man waving. He is a seeker of adventures. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you feel like it. That's the hit. Catch you next time. Bye.